Hi, I'm Doron Davidson, Managing Director of Global Cybersecurity Operations at Cyberproof. With me here is Yuval Waldman, President of Cyberproof. Cyberproof is a managed detection and response provider that helps clients transform security operations to a cost-effective, cloud-native security architecture.
Great to be here, Doron. I'm very happy to be at Google for Startups campus in Tel Aviv. Great opportunity to be in this studio and talk about interesting stuff.
Cool. Recently, we've heard a lot about the acquisition of Splunk by Cisco, and I was wondering whether we should discuss migrating to cloud-native SIEM worth the hassle today following this acquisition especially. I know where I'm going to put my money, but it would be an interesting topic indeed. I think that kind of brings us to the topic around automation and how these native cloud solutions with their significantly more advanced SOAR security orchestration, automation, and response system can basically help organizations, whether we're talking about an MDR or MSSP, whether we're talking about a single organization, the amount of automation that nowadays you can add on top of these solutions is significantly faster, not only on the detection side or the investigation side. I think that the fact that we can now respond, speaking of the arm race, respond significantly faster with these kind of automated playbooks, and maybe even the development of these playbooks that we can now also utilize AI with, becomes significantly faster, significantly simpler. We've seen some of the most interesting acquisitions, whether it was simplified by Google Chronicle, whether it was the Misto becoming XOR, providing really these very advanced capabilities and integrations that otherwise we would need to develop a lot of those integrations, APIs ourselves, and debugging them and maintaining them and so on. Nowadays, to develop an automation becomes significantly simpler, so we can actually concentrate on the business risks, on the use cases that customers really want to protect themselves, rather than on how do we develop that automation.
I agree with you. I think that, if you look at the investment, the amount of investment being done by what we call the hyperscalers, and it is very much related to when we talk about cloud-native platform, whether it's Microsoft or Google, each one of these giants, hyperscaler, they are putting billions of dollars of investment into Gen AI engines that are applicable to our automation process. So the Copilot is native into the Microsoft stack, and I believe that Google will enhance its capabilities through some of the platforms that you mentioned earlier, the SOAR layer, etc. So once you transform to the cloud-native platforms, you start to, we mentioned earlier the analytical layer, but also the automation and Gen AI applications. And I think this is a revolution in how we are seeing now, or we will see soon, security operations of large organizations. It would enable players such as Cyberproof to focus, as you said, about other values that we can provide to our customers. And we both know that we're working on a roadmap that would allow us to help this CISO communicating with a board member or audit committee member or C-suite person or one of his team members on these incidents and the metrics and the value that you can share with your peers. It's a revolution, and I think we are in a very interesting point to use it.
Totally agree. I think that the next step after becoming more effective and efficient is how do we communicate well between our teams and between the different systems that we have in place. And again, the fact that we're looking at different hyperscalers, different cloud-native solutions means that you also have the different components to help different parts of the teams to also integrally communicate with each other and manage kind of whether it's a threat within a certain organization from start to end, whether it's a new automation that needs to be built, and it becomes much simpler and faster process. So again, everything is around efficiency and effectiveness of the team, making sure that we are not wasting valuable time of our team members, but rather using them for really making decisions that are critical for the organization, while what can be automated, we should automate.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk maybe a little bit about transformation. What does it mean? The CISO that I met just a few weeks ago, he told me, look, Yuval, I seriously debate whether I should move out from Splunk to a cloud-native platform. Let's talk about that. So we shared a lot of knowledge about how you can reduce the cost. So we spoke over the past 10 minutes or so about the value add you're getting in analytics, in automation, etc., scalability when it comes to cloud native platform. But what about cost? So it's still unknown to an extent, but our experience shows that we can deal with that. We've developed in Cyberproof some capabilities, some additional layers that would enable to manage the cost properly, the ingestion, the storage, things that are money makers from these hyperscalers. We know how to reduce it and provide the right assurances for the CISO in terms of budget controls. And I'm happy to hear your thoughts and feedback on that as someone that works with these layers, but at the same time, there is a very positive signal coming from the market when we present it.
I think that, as you said, and as part of this transformation project, having the right consultancy to understand what are the different security controls that an environment has, what are the right security controls that they should have, mapping all of that through the MITRE, understanding the gaps, and through that understanding what within every security control, what are the relevant log sources, what are the relevant data elements within those log sources, and really focusing on that reduces the amount of data that flows, reduces the amount of data that you actually need to keep and manage. But it also makes it significantly simpler for us to then build the right use cases and the right detection rules to have a more efficient process afterwards. So it's both the transformation while keeping already in mind how do you want to see the system at the end of the process as effective and efficient as possible for our customers. And that's what we're thinking of every time that we're going through this whole process of transformation.
Yeah. Transformation is complex because organizations are complex. They have built stacks over years, over acquisitions. So there are some inconsistencies when it comes to some of the security products. And the security products are full with content that was built to a very specific, we're talking about Splunk, a platform. But it's not only about the content or the stack, it's also about the people. The people are used to doing something. They fell in love with that. This is their profession. So how do you meet that challenge? How do you create a change management where you start convincing the various teams? You've been using Splunk over the past 5 years. You build content around it. You believe in that value. And I'm not trying to discredit it. I'm just saying that the trends in the market, including the Cisco acquisition, shifted many CISOs to believing that, no, it's time to move on. And we at Cyberproof, we believe that if we present a viable process with credentials of things that we've done already with large organizations, global organizations, layered organizations in the world, this is how we can help not only convincing the CISO because he's with us. He's a visionary person, he's executive, he knows where he wants to go, but we rather can convince the teams, his teams, the SOC manager, he's a pivot, the SOC manager, security operator, that we in the day-to-day will work with him in the future. We need to convince him and his SIEM engineers. This is their profession. When they introduce themselves, they're not saying, I'm a SIEM engineer, I'm a Splunk engineer. So now you need to tell me that I need to move from Splunk to Sentinel or Chronicle or whatever. This is very hard. So the only way to convince at least most of them, because you would never be able to convince all of them, is to show them viable experience. How did we do that in the past, and how can we help you doing that moving forward? Show a process, show case studies, show content, and show specific technological layers that you put on to have dual run, so it will be phased and faded out over time, not an immediate change, because no CISO will take an immediate change. That's too big of a risk. And sometimes the storage needs to stay like 12, 13, depends on the regulation. After you decommission or after you move, before you move to a Splunk, to a cloud native platform, you need to decommission the Splunk. Sometimes it takes longer. So we've seen all versions almost. And I think that Cyberproof can share, maybe we can deep dive to that in another session with some of our experts that did that in the past. We can share a lot of knowledge and insights with the CISO team and with the CISOs themselves.
I agree. It's a kind of religion a lot of the times. Once you fell in love with that system, you believe that's the right system for me, the best system. There is some kind of halo effect around that system from your perspective. And what we see is that after this whole transformation process, suddenly they're looking at a system that is significantly cleaner, that they don't have all those historical rules that were put in place, and no one wants to take them out because you don't really know how it's going to affect your environment, your security posture. And suddenly you have simple, understandable use cases, rules, a clean system with all the historical that needed, obviously, for regulation. But from looking forward, it becomes much simpler to understand and to manage. So I think that they do appreciate it afterwards, and even that religion becomes something that you can convert over time.